Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, and I'm pleased to be here today to announce another step forward in the fight for justice for the community of Brentwood and for communities that have suffered at the hands of the dumpers of contaminated waste all across this area. I'm joined here today by a terrific group of people, public officials and activists, including County Executive Steve Bellone, State Senator Tom Croce, Assemblyman Phil Ramos, Islip Town Supervisor Angie Carpenter, Suffolk County legislators Monica Martinez, who's been a great leader in this effort and a key to pulling this all together. And we're also joined, I understand, by legislator Kara Hahn. We have also several residents of the community who are with us, and representatives of different activist groups. A few of them will be speaking later, including Nelsina Day and Frank Sprouse-Guzman. So I also do want to note, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm joined by the team from my Environmental Protection Bureau that did all the hard work to get this complaint filed today, which we are announcing. Bureau Chief Lem Sralovic, Rebecca Fromer, Matt Sinkman, and Jody Feld. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was here 4 years ago when this park was closed, and I promised that we would come back. And we are here because Roberto Clemente Park was once the heart of this community and must become the beating heart of this community again. We are committed to seeing that the families that picnicked here are able to do so again, kids who played in the playgrounds, the soccer fields, baseball fields. This park was constantly filled. But almost 3 years ago to the day, this beautiful park was locked up and closed off to the people of Brentwood and the surrounding communities. Tens of thousands of tons of hazardous construction debris we now know has been dumped here by men who put their own greed ahead of the well-being of Brentwood and its families. Investigators found that the park was littered with pile after pile of dangerous construction material. Asbestos, lead, pesticides, heavy metals, dangerous chemicals, and for the health and safety of its residents, the town had no choice but to shut down this important oasis and close it off to the community to begin the long process of cleaning up. Nearly 40,000 tons of construction debris have now been removed from the park, and I'm glad to hear and report that town officials are hopefully going to be able to reopen Roberto Clemente Park this summer. But we are here today because that is not enough. Families in this community spent 3 years without access to this tremendous park, and they deserve more than just a return to the status quo. That's why I'm here today to announce that my office, representing the State Department of Environmental Conservation, has filed a legal action in the Federal District Court, the Eastern District of New York, against the people and companies responsible for the thousands of tons of contaminated waste to get them to pay their debt to the Brentwood community for years of loss of access to the park. And while we'll be working with experts to determine the appropriate level of compensation, I can say that it should easily be in the millions of dollars. Some of these polluters have already been found criminally responsible in a court of law. Just last week, Thomas Daytree Jr., the mastermind of the scheme, was sentenced to a year in jail for his role in the dumping. One of his companies, Five Brothers Farming, was fined $600,000 for the scheme. And while it is imperative that the polluters are held criminally liable to deter anyone else who might be tempted to unlawfully dump contaminated waste, that does not make up for the community's 3-year loss of the park. Our lawsuit today aims to fix that. We're suing Daytree, Five Brothers, and more than 24 other contractors and subcontractors for the people's loss of use and enjoyment of the park. Under federal and state law, any money we recover goes to the State Department of Environmental Conservation, which must use it, quote, to restore, replace, or acquire parkland in the impacted area. That means that DEC will use any money we recover to enhance or expand park or recreational facilities or activities in or around the Brentwood community in order to restore the lost use of the park. Finally, we can bring some extremely good news for the people of Brentwood. And while the shuttering of any park is a hit to the surrounding community, the closure of Roberto Clemente Park has been particularly painful. This is the largest and most used public park in the area. Generations of families have used it as a gathering place, really as a public square, and this community deserves not only to have the park reopened, but also for those responsible for its closure to improve the community's access to good park space just as much as they have damaged it over the last 3 years. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of work into preparing this case. We've had great cooperation from our colleagues in local government, from the district attorney's office, from the town of Islip. But I also want to acknowledge that much of the progress we've made has been due to the tireless activism of community residents and advocacy groups like Make the Road and New York Communities for Change. I thank them for their work. They have made it clear that they will not stop until this park is back open and kids are once again running and playing on healthy grass fields. Ladies and gentlemen, this park was named after a man who dedicated his life to improving communities. In the words of Roberto Clemente, anytime you have an opportunity to make a difference in this world and you don't, then you're wasting your time on earth. The advocates and representatives of this community are making a difference every day, and I will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with them, my colleagues in government and with the community activists, to make sure that justice is served. Thank you very much, and now I'd like to introduce a great ally in this effort here and across Suffolk County, County Executive Steve Ballone.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much to the Attorney General for being here in the community, with the community, as he has been since he has been in office. The Attorney General has been a fighter, most importantly, for people who oftentimes don't have the power or voice to fight for themselves against those interests that would seek to do harm to them and their communities. And the Attorney General has been here time and time again, not only on this issue, but so many issues across the board, fighting for people in Suffolk County and all across the state. So I want to thank him for being here once again, and particularly on this issue. And I want to thank all of my colleagues across the board from the town, the state, and my colleagues in county government as well, and particularly all the advocates who are here. This is such a critically important issue. You know, dumping in a park, you know, the Attorney General said it well, it's the heart of a community. This is the place where people gather. This is the public's place. This is the place where we all own. Doesn't matter how much money you have, rich, poor. We all gather here in our public spaces, in our public parks. And people who would come out and seek to harm that or gut that or destroy that, they're doing incredible harm to everyone in that community. And then more than that, this is an incredible cost. It's millions of dollars that have to go into cleaning up when somebody wants to make some extra money by not dumping illegally, by not disposing of waste legally, and thinking it's okay to come into a park and dump there. It's outrageous. And the Attorney General's action, once again, defending the people of this community and communities across the state is just something to really appreciate and have great gratitude for. You know, we were just, Mr. Attorney General, we were just in a county park, West Hills County Park, where we announced legislation a couple weeks ago that was sponsored, authored by Kara Hahn here and co-sponsored by Legislator Martinez, where we increased the penalties for dumping, where we added for the first time now, you can go to jail. It's a crime, and it's appropriate. There's nothing like the prospect of going to jail that helps focus the mind of people who want to destroy our parks and hurt our communities. And so I'm proud to stand here with the Attorney General and my colleagues and the community in solidarity with the Attorney General's action here today to support a community that truly deserves that support. Thank you very much, Mr. Attorney General.
Thank you. And we're now going to hear from a community activist, Brentwood resident and New York Communities for Change member, Nelsina Day.
She doesn't need the microphone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I really don't need a microphone. I'm quite sure that you all can hear me I pray that the Lord will really bless this and bring Roberto Clemente Park to fruition. It's been a long, drawn-out task. Started 4 years ago, when at first they had to close the pool. And then as they were taking pictures of the closing of the pool, you see the dumping going on in the back. It's a sad story. This community has suffered a lot. The children out of every other house on this block and behind these blocks, behind Roberto Clemente, have suffered because they have had no place to go. They haven't had any place to really enjoy themselves. Where during the summer times, we would play baseball, we would have movie nights out, the swimming pool was open, the soccer fields was open, and during the winter time, they would use it like sleighing. This hasn't happened for over 3 years. I am so happy and thankful to the Attorney General that he is finally bringing this suit and that he is going to make the people who did this pay and help us to continually to fight against illegal dumping, not only in Brentwood, Central Islip, but throughout Suffolk County, and to free our communities of all of these toxic chemicals.
Thank you. Thank you. And now someone who I have heard speak passionately about this, and we're pleased to have him here today, State Senator Tom Croce. Thank you.
Well, Attorney General Schneiderman, thank you so much for being here, for taking this action. You know, when this happened 4 years ago, the commitment that we made to the residents of the town of Islip was that first and foremost, we were going to clean it up quickly. Secondly, we were going to make sure that the park was built back better than ever for the people and the residents and families of Brentwood. And third, that the individuals responsible would be brought to justice and held accountable. And I think you're seeing the fruition of all three of those come together today. I was happy to get $1 million to help Supervisor Carpenter conduct the cleanup, which is ongoing. I think you've seen what the team in Islip has been able to do in this park over the last couple of years with cleaning it up and getting it ready for another summer. But I think the building it back better than ever has to include more safety and security for this park to ensure that the kind of gang activity that has plagued Brentwood will not be happening in Roberto Clemente Park. And that's not just a commitment to the residents of Islip and the families, but a personal commitment that I made to Roberto Clemente Jr. when he came 4 years ago and we met. So, Attorney General Schneiderman, I really want to thank you, and to my colleagues in government. This has been a lift that we've all done together, and the community has been very much a part of that, and Alcina and others. So I want to thank you, and I look forward to seeing the fruits of the suit and ensuring that at long last justice is done in this matter. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And now someone who has brought me, I think originally brought me to this community, a good friend and a great advocate, Assemblyman Phil Ramos.
Thank you. Thank you. I would also like to join my colleagues in thanking the Attorney General. You know, anytime the powers that be come down to Brentwood is a happy day here. I spent a lot of my career as an elected official having to bring attention to things that are really not a priority to many different levels of government, many different agencies. We all know what I'm talking about. If you live in Brentwood and CI, you know what I'm talking about. We have been done a disservice on many levels. What the Attorney General brings here today is a very, very important element to rectify things that a long-standing history of neglect in our community. You know, we've been done a disservice by the criminal justice system. We're talking about a 1-year sentence that one person got, and with good time, we're talking 6 months. It's merely a tax on the millions that they earn from dumping and polluting our community and our families here which is really not significant at all. We've been done a disservice. And we've talked about, getting justice and arresting people and all sorts of technicalities where people get off in court and they narrow it down to one person. He only gets actually in effectively 6 months in jail. But nobody until Mr. Eric Schneiderman came around has spoken about restorative justice. And that is what he brings here today. Restorative justice in the form of money to be able to come back here to this community. And I got to say that the history of this community is that even when we have gotten restorative justice, the money doesn't come here. We had a power plant that was emitting toxic sulfur by Pilgrim for 10 months, and nobody knew about it. NYPA got fined $2 million, and that money went to build a bicycle path in Queens. It never came back to the community. Our Attorney General is guaranteeing that every penny of the proceeds of what is secured will come back into this community here. So I applaud his efforts. I'm happy to have worked with him from the beginning to end on this project. And also I want to mention that our town supervisor, we have made a commitment to reach out to each other and work together on this. Put politics aside, as we should. In all fairness, she inherited this issue. We secured $2 million to put into this park to create a state-of-the-art spray park, and she is pushing as fast as she can to get this done by this summer. And Mr. Attorney General, thank you so much on behalf of all our residents.
Thank you. And now someone who has been really critical to all the organizing about this, including organizing us here today, Suffolk County Legislator Monica Martinez.
Good afternoon, and first of all, thank you all for being here, and especially the advocate groups that are here with us today. Seriously, you are the heart of this community as well, always fighting for the justice that needs to be served in our district, and as well as my colleagues in government, both at the state level and town level. It's so important that during these times that we really work together and we do leave our personal differences aside and our political differences and ideologies aside, because this is what government is. Government, we have been elected by you, and you have entrusted us to make sure that we bring you what is needed, such as safety, your welfare, and overall just a place that you call home. And it can be based on political lines. It can be based on personal issues. We need to work together, and you're seeing this here today. You're seeing both sides of the aisle coming together, the reps that represent this area, that as you have heard, this area has been neglected and forgotten about for many, many years. And it's a great community to live in. I live here. I literally live down this road. And it's so important that we bring this park back to our kids. The county executive and I, along with EOC, and the colleagues at the legislature have really helped me in making sure that our kids have had a safe place to go this summer, or at least for the past 3 summers. And this will be our 4th summer where we've given children a free summer camp because they have not been able to use this park. And we have seen an increase of children attending this summer program, and it's going to be given again this year. But this was a result of the fact that our kids didn't have a place to go. And that's why working together and looking at what we need to do and bringing those resources in is so important. I really want to thank the Attorney General. We met here 4 years ago when you came to the park, and you also had an environmental forum going on. And you promised to come back. You promised, and you said, once the DA's investigation is over, I will come in. And you kept your word, and you kept your promise, and I thank you for that, because not too many do that when it comes to Brown and Central Islip. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you, and I look forward to our continued partnership.
Thank you. Thank you. And another person passionately committed to restoring the park and making this work, and a great help to us in developing this lawsuit also, Islip Supervisor Angie Carpenter.
Well, I wasn't here 4 years ago, but I am here today, and I am so grateful that our Attorney General is here today with this huge, huge announcement. Because beyond just the travesty that took place here in Clemente Park, I think your actions are going to prevent this from going further, because it didn't just happen here. As the county executive said, West Hill Parks in the town of Huntington, we've seen dumping in Babylon. It is pervasive, it's all over. And I think this action that we're hearing about today is going to send the message loud and clear that we are not going to stand still. We are not going to sit back and let communities be ruined, let children's lives be turned upside down. So I, on behalf of all of the residents of this town, want to thank the Attorney General for his actions, and for my colleagues in government. Monica, you said it very well. Working together is how it's going to happen. Assemblyman Ramos has been absolutely awesome. His commitment, getting the $2 million for the spray park that hopefully will be open next summer. The park will be open this summer. Senator Croce, with his commitment, helping us escalate the cleanup. The cleanup is done. The park is safe. We now just need to bring the amenities back so that the kids can be here playing, that we can have those movie nights and many more exciting things that are going to be planned for this wonderful place we know as Roberto Clemente Park in the wonderful hamlet of Brentwood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And finally, to close us out, another local activist, Make the Road member, and local resident, Frank Sprouse Guzman.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank Sprouse Guzman. I am leader and member of Make the Road New York, which represent over 1,000 members here in Long Island, mainly in this area. I have been a resident of this area for 3 years, and this is where I am raising my grandchildren. This is why many others Make the Road members, along with New York Community for Change, demand this park to be cleaned up and reopened as soon as possible. I am proud to stand here with Attorney General Schneiderman, who is standing with this community and ensuring justice is served for our community after this environmental assault on our park and our youth and family of this community, for whom this park is one of the few green spaces in this area with positive programming and recreational opportunity for youth, all of which had been suspended since this park was closed more than 2 years ago. We praise the Attorney General for working to hold these bad people accountable for thinking that this community is a place where they could do this. What we need in this moment is to invest in our community, and the young people in our community has a long-term strategy for sustaining safe, nurturing, and healthy neighborhood. We need to ensure our parents have access to child care, early education, affordable health care, quality housing, and good jobs. We need to coordinate effort across our school, health providers, and community organizations to build a community-wide coalition to support vulnerable youth and ensure that critical assets like this park and the program that our youth need come back as soon as possible. At the end, justice has become a victory. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And this is just another step. I look forward to continuing to work with you all as we seek to ensure that justice is done. And with that, if you we can take questions from the press. If you identify yourselves to Amy. Sure. We have been involved since the very beginning here. There was testing done very early on determining that there was contaminated waste. The district attorney was pursuing a criminal matter, so we deferred to them, but they've made available the testing materials that they developed, and we worked with them closely and made sure we got this. We've also worked with the town, and they've made available information that they've developed in the course of this, and we have our own scientists and investigators who've worked together with both the town and the district attorney's office. So we knew what kinds of chemicals were dumped here. We knew what kinds of contaminants were dumped here. We then went back and, using GPS records and using our own investigative techniques, we tracked back to 13 different construction sites in New York City and Nassau and Suffolk County, primarily in the city, figured out where the waste came from that got dumped out here, and identified the contractors and subcontractors who were responsible for that waste. We also have named 2 waste brokers as defendants here. They were intermediaries who arranged for the waste to get to the day trees and others who actually did the hauling and dumping. So we've identified people at every stage of the chain, and under the federal Superfund law and New York's nuisance law, they're all jointly and severally liable. They're all liable for these damages, and we intend to pursue everyone who bears some responsibility for this. So that was really the way the investigation proceeded.
Are you aware of any criminal investigations that will be going before these new companies that you've uncovered for investigation?
There are a variety of other sites, and their DEC, which is we are representing in this case, has been investigating whether anything arises to a criminal or not. It's too early to say, and I don't want to comment on that. We'll fix that. Thank you. Thank you. Well, the purpose of the legal structure here really is to ensure that the state, through the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Conservation, serves essentially as a trustee for our parkland. And when we recover funding, the state law requires it to be spent to improve access to parks and the quality of park life for the community that was affected by the contamination. So that could come in a variety of ways. The DC Commissioner will be seeking community input. And, look, the town has done an incredible job of cleaning up, but we want this park to be better. We want access to the park to be better. Security was mentioned. We want the park to be safe. We want this community deserves a world-class facility, and we have 3 years of lost use to make up for, and we intend to collect the damages for that and see that it's put back into making this as great a park as the community deserves and it could possibly be.
And please just state name and outlet.
Sure, it's Carolyn Bessel from WCBS. Is it disheartening that on a day that you're celebrating, the end of a successful criminal prosecution and also the launching of a civil lawsuit, that there are still more cases of possible alleged illegal dumping on Long Island, that it continues?
Well, no, I think this is something that was going on for some time. We became aware of it, and I have to say that right now I think there is as unified and strong a commitment from the state government, the county government, local governments, community activists, to making sure not only that this kind of dumping stops, but that those who engage in it are held accountable. And these are sending strong messages. This is just as I said, this is another step towards justice. There will be many other steps to protect this community and other communities affected by this kind of conduct. We will not tolerate it, and it's not going to stand. Thank you.
Great job.
Great. Thank you. Man.